Very good morning, everyone. Once again, we are here in the history classes of class 10th, and today we are going to start second chapter of your book, and that is the president and the vice president. So, students, as you have completed the first chapter of civics in your copy, second chapter also you have to finish, and after this, next week, after finishing this chapter, we will finish that syllabus till here only, and then we'll go for whole days homework, in which you will get the project, and I'll give the guideline for the project. Then on basis of that guideline only you have to prepare the project, and your project must be according to that level of board. So we'll discuss this thing in the next week. So this week we are going to discuss about chapter number 2, that is president and vice president. So student, as I have told that civics is having three main topics: executive, legislature and judiciary. So first chapter, which was the legislature, from that one question will come in exam, and second topic we are going to start executive, which is having that president and vice president and prime minister and its cabinet. So these two chapters containing one question in board exam, and last two chapters judiciary, which contains high court and supreme court, that will also contain one question. So out of these three you have to complete any two answers or structured questions. So keep it in mind. Then first chapter if you are going thoroughly, then second and third you have to complete, or fourth and fifth you have to complete thoroughly for getting full marks in civics. So civics is not that much tough as a few students are thinking. So regular classes are not going on, so that you may have some problem in understanding. So I told everyone that you can ask me in comment section. I can clear doubts in next video. So if you are having any kind of doubts, then you can send this week. Then I'll mention your doubts in next week. I will clear doubts one by one in next week. So student, now we are going to start. Enough delay is there. I hope all of you are staying back. So before starting that chapter, I would like to go through the syllabus which we are going to prepare from this chapter. So qualifications for election, composition of electoral college, reasons for indirect election, terms of office, procedure for impeachment. So one thing I want to mention here, that manner of election which is given in your book, that is not the part of syllabus. I will not go through this topic. So we will discuss today these topics: qualifications for election, composition of electoral college, and reasons for indirect election, and procedure of impeachment. These topics we are going to discuss today. I hope you will understand. So let us start with the first topic: who is president? So that president is that apex executive power of Indian Constitution, or we can say so that president is that highest executive authority in Indian Constitution. He exercises power either directly or through his officers. Means president can use his power on the advice of prime minister or council of ministers. So students, according to 42nd amendment, which is clearly declaring that president, if willing to exercise his power or functions, then he or she has to take the advice of council of ministers, and prime minister is the head of council of ministers. So on the advice of prime minister, president takes his decision. Beside few matters that we'll discuss during the chapter, or discretionary power of president we can discuss. So here we are not going to discuss the topic, but one thing I want to tell, that the president is the highest authority, and he is the supreme commander of all defenses. So nowadays some changes are there. One chief of defense staff are also there, but he is also under the president. So president is all in all in all armed forces, either navy, air force or army. So students, I hope so you understood about the president. So we can say so that once again, that president is the apex constitutional head of India or Union of India. and he is working on the advice of Prime Minister or Council of Minister according to amendment number 42. So sometime they are asking about amendment number 42 or according to which amendment these conditions are there. So you have to keep in mind which amendment is dictating this right of president. So now we are going to discuss as per that syllabus qualifications for election. So student, a person who is willing to be the part of who is willing to be the part of that election of president, what qualification he or she should have. So first one, that he should be a citizen of India. It means that his name should be enrolled in any voter list. Means in a whole country, anywhere else his name should be enrolled in the voter list. Then he or she may be that candidate for the election. Second one, that completed his age of 35. So as per qualifications, 35 years of age is compulsory for being a president. Next one, qualified for election as a member of Lok Sabha. So he should have the qualifications as per Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. So a person shall not be eligible for the election as a president if he holds any office of profit. So it is important one, that if you are holding any office of profit. So what is meant by office of profit here? Means he should not be on job by which he is getting the salary from the government, either the state government or central government. He should not hold any office of profit where he is getting the salary from government office. So president or the vice president or minister, either the union of any state, so he should not be there from these any of these designations. So person who is holding any office of profit is not eligible for presidentship. So he should resign from all the posts which he is here, there for previous work, and he then only he may be the president of India. So either we can say, so if any president of party, if any other minister, if any chief minister, then he or she has to resign from all these designations. Then only the president will be president will be elected, or president will be take the oath. Okay, so we'll discuss next topic, but before that I want to conclude that person who should be a citizen of India means his name should enrolled in any place of the country, any voter list in the country. He is completed 35 years of age, less than that is not eligible. And third one, that qualified for Lok Sabha election, means all that qualifications which are there in Lok Sabha should be applicable to the president of India. If he is not fulfilling those one, then he or she may not be the president. And third one, that president shall not hold office of profit. So office of profit I have told you clearly. So one more thing I want to mention here, who is the president of India. So president of India is now Mr. Ramnath Kovind, and he is holding the apex constitutional designation in India. So now we are going to discuss about composition of the electoral college. So before going through the composition, I would like to tell what is electoral college. So electoral college is a temporary organization which is made for the election of the president. So who are the member of this college? Who are the member of this institution for the election of president? So let us go through. First one, that all the elected members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are the member, and with this, that assemblies, state assemblies and state councils. Okay, all the elected members of assemblies and state National Capital Territory Delhi and the Union Territories of Puducherry are the member of this electoral college. So electoral college and nominated members and elected members both are the part of this electoral college. So one more thing we can say, that presidential candidate will have to be proposed by at least 50 members of the house, or we can say so that MPs or MLAs, at least 50 should be in favor of that particular candidate. Then only a person may suggest or nominate his name for presidentship. And previously it was 10 proposers, but now it became 50 members at least. So till when you will not have 50 members of Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha or any house of state assembly, then you may not be the president of, you may not be the candidate for presidentship. So at least 50 members should be there in your favor. So next topic is given in a book, that is manner of election, that I am not taking in the video because that is not the part of the syllabus. Next topic is there which is in the syllabus, that is reasons for indirect election. This topic you can go through if you are willing to study. Then I can explain if you are having any problem, if you are willing to understand, or whenever the school will reopen we can discuss if you are interested in this topic. So now we are going to discuss about reasons for indirect election. So why indirect elections are there in India? So there are three main reasons. First one, that if president was to be elected directly by the people, he could become a rival to the center of power of to the council of ministers. So president is also elected directly by that common people. President, if will elect directly by the common people, then they will have clash to each other. Means one may say different one and another say may different one. So they both can be rivalry from each other, or we can say so that in parliamentary system we cannot oppose each other, or president and prime minister if will oppose each other, then whatever that bill may bring by the government, president may dismiss that bill. So this only that disturbance will be there in democracy. About this Nehru has said itself that we could not have a directly elected president and not give him real powers. So that's why in Indian constitution real head is prime minister, not president, because president is working on the advice of prime minister. So that's why we are having indirect election, not direct election. So now we are going to discuss second point, that membership in the two houses of parliament was likely to be dominated by one party election of the president merely by the majority of members of the union parliament could make him nominee of a ruling party like the prime minister. Such a president could not represent that constituent states of the union. So in suppose we are having direct election, so what problem will be there? If any party is getting that majority in Lok Sabha elections, then that candidate may be for president election. And one more thing is there, that we are having that assemblies of states. So that candidate which will come from this in direct election may not have the representation of all the states. So in that case what will happen? President could not represent the constituent states of the union. Means we can say clearly that if one party is having majority in parliament and he is giving the president and another one prime minister both, so then other parties will not have the representation in the parliament, or we can say so that president will not have the proper representation from all the states, because in president election we are taking part in all the states. Means all the state assemblies are responsible for that one. So suppose one party BJP government, second party Congress government, second state Congress government, third state AIMDMK or another party, many parties are there, Biju Janata Dal, so different parties are there and in different states which are having their government. So like this we are having representation of all the states, not only one particular party. So that's why we are having indirect election. And third point, important one, that president is elected by the electoral college, and electoral college consists that elected members of two houses and legislative assemblies. So indirectly we can say so that all that state assemblies and union parliament are having that elected members or elected members from all the states, or directly elected candidates are there. So they are the true representative of people, and they are electing the president. So article number 54 states that electoral college would make that president the elected representatives of whole nation with the clear voice given to the state as well. So all that states are having representation, because in all the states one party may not be in majority or their CM is not there. So while we are electing president, so all the parties are having the voice in the election of president. So I hope you understood this these three reasons. So I want to conclude these one. First one, we can say so that if president and prime minister both will elected directly, then they both will have the rivalry against each other. Means president and prime minister may clash to each other for the powers if they both are elected directly. And in India, we are not having a real head as the prime minister, president. We are having the real head of the state is prime minister. So no need of direct election of president. Second one, we can say so that all the states are having representation in indirect election, which is not possible in direct election. Suppose that one party is having majority in Lok Sabha, and in all the states different parties are there. So while different parties government is there, different CMs are there, different opinion may be there. So their representation is there in the election of president, or we can say all the states are having representation, either any party government is there. So it is not possible that in all the states same party government is there, because of many diversities are there in our India. So in this way we are having the representation of all the states. So president is representing all the states as well as union territories, not only one party. So third one, we can say so that elected members from all that assemblies of the states as well as parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, are the representatives of people. So they are electing president. So he is the representative of all the people of India. So like this, no need of direct election. So now we are going to discuss next point, that is oath of office. So what is oath of office? Usually they are not asking that question about this one. So president takes oath in the presence of Chief Justice of India. So this question many times they are asking, that who give the oath to the president. So that name is Chief Justice of India. So whatever the oath is taken, that okay, we can discuss. First one, discharge that functions of President of India and preserve, protect and defend the constitution and law, and drove himself to the service and well-being of the people of India. So who will be the President of India? He has to keep in mind that all the people of India are equal to him, and he will preserve, protect and defend the constitution. We can say so that President is that guardian of constitution. So if any law is passed by that house is against that constitution, then president can go for judicial review, or we can discuss this thing in judiciary. So now we can go through another topic, but before that one more point is remaining, that he is taking oath in the name of God, that he will conduct as a president with soul of his constitution. Means he will protect the constitution as the president of India. So these are the oaths. So here the what is important thing, that who gives the oath to the president. So this whatever is oath they are asking, rarely this question never comes in exam, rarely they can ask, but this question is very important one, that who is the officer who is in whose presence this president is taking the oath. So now we are going to discuss next one, that is term of office. So presidents are elected for 5 years, and they shall continue if they are elected again. So one time president can take part the election again. There is no foundation. And they will remain in the office till when that next president is not coming for that office. So vacation of office, president may submit his resignation to the vice president if he is not able to continue his duty, and such resignation will be communicated by the vice president to the speaker of the Lok Sabha. Until the new president election, vice president will work as the president. So president may, for the violation of constitution, be removed from the office. So that is first thing, that if by his own wish or by his own will he is giving the resignation, that is first case. Second case, that while he is doing some misconduction or misbehavior or violating the constitution, in that case impeachment may be there of the president. So now we are going to discuss the procedure for the impeachment of president. So let us go through this one, whatever the procedures. So there are 3 steps. First step, what is there? That resolution which is moved after at least 14 days, notice in writing signed by not less than 1/4 of the total members of the house. So if strength is 545, so 1/4 of the house may give that written one for the resolution of impeachment, then only it is possible. First thing is there, that at least 1/4 of member of the house should agree on impeachment for removal of president. Second one, that resolution is passed by that majority of not less than 2/3. So if after inquiry it is passed in the house by 2/3 majority, then only it is possible to remove president from the house, and that should be in both houses, not one house. And second point, when a charge has been so preferred by earlier house of the parliament and other house will investigate. So in one house the charge is being fixed by 2/3 majority, then other house will investigate about that charges, and then president has to appear in front of that investigation team, and he has to answer the question. And if they also not satisfied with the answer of the president, then with 2/3 majority it should be passed in that house also, and then only the president may be removed from the office in case of misbehavior, in case of violation of constitution. So I hope it is clear. Once again I want to tell that a resolution should be brought in the house by 2/3 majority, by 1/4 candidates, and then it should pass by 2/3 majority, and after passing it the charges should be investigated. In one house it is investigated, and after investigation it is, or during the investigation, president has to appear in front of the investigation team, and if it is found that president is guilty of misbehavior or misconduct or violation of constitution, then voting is there in another house, and if by 2/3 majority it is passed in that house, then only president has to resign. So this is the procedure for impeachment of president. So this was the topic for today. So I hope you understood the topic. Stay home, stay safe, and have a nice day. For